So this is not real. It feels like an illusion. This would normally be my type of space. Spend a little time here, typically then head out to the beach because it's got to be somewhere coastal if you could go palm trees. But none of that is happening today. I am off to an office and I will be there for the next 9 hours and come back when it's pitch black and none of this is visible to me. I am in Cairo today. As I've said in the past, I am a 9 to 5er. My social media exploits are not even quite the side hustle. But yeah, they're definitely not my full-time gig. So I'm here on a work trip, my first time ever in Egypt. That's also partially intentional. There's a lot of baggage with that statement because it's, I'll say, well publicized by Black folks that getting through into Egypt can be a little tricky. As I said, it was a work trip, and it was probably helpful that I came on that premise because I'm able to look at this through a slightly different lens. But then I also have questions about if that's the right lens to look at Cairo through. African identity takes on a different form here. Rather, I'd rephrase that. Identity takes on a different form here when it comes to race, culture. One of the things I'm exploring here actually is the fact that experiencing Egypt in this way it feels sometimes like a false reality. So like work trips, I don't make loads and loads of work trips, but I make a couple a year, and it sometimes just feel like I'm living a life that isn't typical for me. I travel sensibly and try to travel economically, but obviously with companies that have bigger budgets, you're afforded a little bit more luxury, and you question the lens through which you experience the city. It feels like somehow I've stumbled on an Africa travel series, back-to-back videos around travel to Africa. Some of these trips were part of my personal plans, but when it comes to work trips, some of these things get hinted, but you don't know exactly when they might happen. Egypt happened at a pretty interesting time. A lot going on sports-wise, but it's also a season where there's a lot going on globally, but certainly within the Middle East. And that definitely has some relevance when we talk about Egypt. I've always had questions about the racial dynamics when it comes to northern African countries. What do they identify themselves as? With what I do now, I work with a lot of Egyptians. But sometimes it can be awkward to have these types of conversations, like over a call, or have these big team meetings and you have the odd one-to-one conversation. But like bridging those gaps can be a little bit more difficult when you're not there in person. There definitely have been challenges with certain groups of Black people, and I could say, based on what I'd seen, Nigerians make it into Egypt. If you're not welcome somewhere, it's like, why would you even bother going? There's so many other places to go. And arriving in Egypt very quickly seemed to validate this point, because I've got Nigerian roots, but I wasn't traveling as a Nigerian. Bear in mind, this was a work trip, so I had a work visa. I get to the desk and the lady's like, within like 15, 20 seconds, she's like, where are you originally from? But this time I found it really interesting. I was like, okay, where is this going? So I was like, I am British. And I just sort of left it there. So I call originally British, to which I just nodded. And then she stepped away, came back, and then handed me my passport and went. I was like, so this is the first experience I get of this. But interestingly, I think that was where it ended. But I'll get into the story of my experience of Egyptians a little bit more.
A lot of Sudan's and Syrian people already stayed in Egypt due to conflicts.
Yeah.
These roundabouts are so confusing.
Something I also found really interesting was with the guys I worked with, at the end of where I work, essentially, the company I work for, at the end of our email addresses, there's essentially the country you work in. So like if you're in the UK, you'd have my name, first name, surname, and then you'd have UK at the end. The guys in Egypt had first name, surname, Middle East, which I found really interesting. So when I did get the opportunity to speak to someone I worked with here, I asked the question, what do Egyptians identify with? Being African or being Middle East?
I was talking about identity the other day myself.
Yeah. Egyptians. Like Egyptians, yeah. We're not, we're just originally Egyptian. Yes. Because ancient Egyptians and all this.
True,
yeah. We are just proud for the ancient Egyptians who they build all the pyramids and they are just doing a lot of things related to this one. So originally we are proud as from the ancient Egyptians, not Syrians.
Based on race, culture, politics, just overall history, the language, the fact that Arabic is spoken here and the specific dialect of Arabic that's spoken here. And for him, he felt like rather than sit in one of the buckets, Egypt in itself was sort of a unique concept, but it's a complex subject. I'm not here to define or redefine what that is. It's just an interesting thing, and it was helpful to understand the perspective of someone who grew up being Egyptian and what it meant for them. Staying in a place like this sometimes can keep you so sheltered and excluded from real life in these places. And this is at the heart of why I thought, maybe I'll create a little video about this trip, because typically we're staying in these lovely places and we're having these lovely experiences. And today, the reason why I got back at about 11 p.m. was because we had dinner by the pyramids. And that was so special. And, you have the pyramids lit up. Well, we got there like early evening when it was sunset. So sunset by the pyramids into nicely lit pyramids at night. And it was unreal. I'd never seen the pyramids before. And, it was nice to just be there. And interestingly, from the restaurant we were at, you could see old Cairo. My Egyptian colleague who was with us, who had sort of organized all of this, make some really interesting comments around the perception of this place and how almost the new progressive group or new progressive Egypt didn't really look at this place with pride. And it was interesting to see that how you had a gradient from, and you can see the skyline in the background really far away, but you had the gradient from old Cairo into this sort of modern looking or modern structures. And interestingly, a couple of us within the group thought, actually, it's nice to have the sort of character that this gives you, rather than just having a place that's all brand spanking new. And you really get in historic Egypt. The pyramids are a massive sort of, visual elements to it as well. To have these different layers to them I think it's something to be proud of. Anyways, I can't speak for Egyptians, but it was interesting to hear some of the comments that were made from Egyptians and non-Egyptians. So despite that, there was still a yearning for authenticity. Now, given all of what I've said, it's hard to find the time to go find something authentic if that's not already part of the plan. But we did get one night, and one truly special night. The World Cup is on now. Egypt had made it to the knockout phase of the World Cup and won their first knockout game and had never made it this far before. So there was genuine excitement. And I mean, when we were in the offices, like that's all people could talk about. We get on calls and even like colleagues from other parts of the world would be like, oh, good luck to Egypt. I hope you guys do well. We had guys from the US as well. They obviously had their own, hopes. So, that slow build up from day one when we got there, the next day really was the game, the day after we got here. And we toyed with the idea of where to go, and again, this is where like the Egyptian hospitality came. They were like, oh, we want you to experience this. We want you to experience, what it's like to see Egyptians support their teams and show so much passion, and they're such passionate people. We want you to experience that. So long story short, we landed on an option literally 5 minutes before we left. One of the team had been driving round, and the level of dedication just blew me away. I've been driving round to different places to see where they could get a spot for about 4 of us, essentially. It wasn't a big group. He found one, he paid for these places, and we turned up about 5 minutes into the game, or maybe about 10 minutes into the game. As we were walking up to the place, Egypt scored, and the entire place erupted. I mean, I wish I was there for that very first goal. It was sunset, it was a lovely evening, temperature was wild like earlier in the day, but it calmed down, so it was perfect weather for us to be out. And the entire place erupted. And this was what I was looking forward to. So we got there, and for those that followed the game, Egypt then scored another goal. There was just pandemonium. That goal got disallowed. Then you had Egypt goal, this true second goal that was allowed. Chaos is all I can say. Absolute chaos. And I loved it. And this was what I hoped for. I mean, it was great to be there. It was interesting to see the dynamics and people there. Like you had families turn up, not just guys, not just young people, like old people, multi-generations, kids, young guys. You had the horns and flares and drums going, loud music. It was like a fun fair, really. Travel that is more immersed in just typical things that happen within a city, that give me a sense of what the culture is like. That's the kind of travel that I am more closely aligned to, or I'll probably do more frequently. This 9-to-5 life in the world I live in doesn't afford me the types of luxuries that ironically work affords me when I do make these trips. It's ironic, it keeps me grounded, and it's given me a clear sense of what I like and what I want and the type of traveler that I am and the type of experiences that I want.
When I came to Cairo, I thought this would be a film about traveling for work. But as I've been working through the edits, I've realized identity seemed to be the stronger theme for me. I'm African, standing in an African country, having conversations with people who feel more Middle Eastern than African. And if I'm honest, my first reaction was disappointment. It almost felt like Africa was something people wanted to distance themselves from. But the more I listened, the more I realized the story was far more complicated than I first thought. Because identity isn't just about geography. It's shaped by things like history, culture, and really the experiences that shape how people see themselves. Maybe that's what I am taking away from Egypt. Maybe identity is a lot more complicated than the maps we draw.